We are back with On the Road of Recovery with Tim from Diamond, Ohio. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. Can you start off by describing your childhood?
Yeah, I two parents. I was born in 1953, so I'm a 50s kid. Um, Catholic church, went to Catholic school as a kid. Really conservative parents. My dad was a World War II vet, um, and really typical. Some trauma, some mental illness in the family. Some struggles in that way, but no really alcohol or substance abuse problems in the family.
Okay. When did you first start experimenting with alcohol or drugs?
So I was the smallest high school football player in Ohio in 1967. And so I was kind of shy. And so when I was 15 or 16 in social situations, it made me smart, good looking, and attractive to drink beer. So that was irresistible.
Okay. So can you talk a little bit about the progression of your disease?
Sure. I drank before every social situation. And it was different going to bars and being carded in those days. We all had fake IDs, and that was all okay. So the booze was very available. It was now into the 70s, and marijuana was available. I went to Kent State the year after the government-sanctioned murder of students. And so I tried all the drugs, and mostly though alcohol and marijuana. And I can remember, as I was thinking coming up here today, walking back in the evening, probably in 1973 or 4, I was in college. I taught CCD class at the Newman Center. So for those of you who aren't Catholic, that's Catholic religion class for kids who go to public school. And thinking I can't wait to get back to my apartment and get high with my buddies. And I thought, I wonder if I'll have to get high every day for the rest of my life. I can remember that vividly, and I thought to myself, yeah, probably, but that's okay. I didn't consider myself an addict or an alcoholic, but I kind of realized then this is part of my life, and that's okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how long would you say that lasted for, of it being just normal part of, and no real consequences, I'm guessing, at that time?
Yeah, 40 some years.
Okay.
Until
Gotcha.
I realized I had a problem.
Okay.
I was in behavioral health. I worked in psychiatric hospitals. I ran both mental health and substance abuse programs. But I started shaking before lunch, and I get teased. I thought I was a diabetic.
Oh.
And my coworker noticed it. Why are you shaking? I don't know. And I actually went to my doctor and I said, I'm shaking before lunch. And she ran all these tests, and it continued to be bad. And now, one night I was sitting there. Now I had separated from my second wife, and I was sitting at home, and I thought, maybe I won't drink tonight. Maybe that's what's causing it. And I knew a lot about alcoholism and the effects on the body because of my work, my social work background. And I didn't drink for the first time ever. And my parents stopped by, and we had a nice visit. And after they left, I realized they'd been dead for a number of years. And I thought, this is really bad,
Right.
because it's probably DTs. So I drank, and the next day I called a couple friends and Jerry Carter, who ran the Neal County Recovery Clinic for years, and I said, I got to go in. And it was a time when you had to wait a week or two for a bed, and it was my connections that got me in like 2 days into Ignatia Hall. So they saved my life in Glen Bay.
Gotcha.
IOP.
So can you talk a little bit about, as a professional in this field, how that felt to take that step?
Oh, it's embarrassing. I'm on TV for work sometimes, and I was terrified to go to meetings and that somebody would know me and think that it affected my work. It was embarrassing. I'm supposed to know better. I'm supposed to be in better control. And even though on the one hand I know it's a disease and I've always believed it's a disease, I still felt it was a weakness and my fault, and that I shouldn't have let that happen to myself. I should have controlled it better, which is, of course, the core of the problem with addiction.
Right. Yeah,
So,
that's for sure. So,
yeah.
but taking that step, so can you think back to, first, what's your sobriety date?
Oh, September coming up, September 25th, 2015.
Congratulations.
So
That's
6 years
spectacular.
coming up.
Yeah, that's
thank
very
you.
cool. So can you think back to 2015? Really, what was it like those beginning days? You said that you went to Ignatius Hall and Glen Bay. What were some of the things that you learned, that you got out of going to treatment?
Oh, I remember laying in bed the first night in detox, and I know the relapse rate's 95%, and I just said, I'm going to do anything. I'm going to listen to whatever they say. I needed to surrender. And that, both that first night when I surrendered, I can't do this by myself. And then that was just the message that you absolutely have to surrender. So if you told me sitting here as a recovery expert, you got to go back to doing 90 meetings in 90 days, I would do that. So I need everybody's help to do this.
Yeah.
That was my big takeaway.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Being able to find that, get to that place that you're ready to change and that ready to surrender it's terrifying on one hand, and on the other hand, it's so freeing. And being able to then be open to following those steps and taking the suggestions and whatnot, is really, I mean, it's spectacular. I mean, there's really no, it's hard to describe.
It's freedom from slavery.
Yes, absolutely. It's perfectly said. So can you talk then about what you did, after IOP, after treatment? How did you really put those things that were suggested to you into action?
Sure. So I went to 90 meetings in 90 days. I don't know if people agree or disagree with that. That's what they told me to do, and I did it. And I found my tribe. I paid attention to people, places, and things. So all that stuff that I always thought was corny, and saying that serenity prayer, which I thought was corny, were everything that I did to remind myself that I got to surrender, that I'm not in control, and that there goes my thinking. And I found out that if I didn't go to meetings, I started thinking crazy, and it helped me pay attention to that stuff. And I got a sponsor, and I worked the steps. I was his first sponsee, and he wasn't comfortable doing my fifth step because he'd never done one before. So we called Pastor Betsy from Glen Bay, and she's famous, and she said, I've done 5,000 fifth steps. And so it really worked. And I was in the business, and I thought it was kind of corny. But I once I surrendered and said, look at how happy these people are. And that's why.
Yeah. So I appreciate when you talked about doing the 90 meetings in 90 days. And sometimes people oftentimes have no idea why to do that. But I think you really described finding your tribe, because there's a whole lot of different people that are out there. But finding your people is part of that, and finding where you are comfortable. That was really helpful, I think, for a lot of people to really help make those connections of why they say to do some of these things. So
it's so genuine when they say, I'm glad you're here.
Right.
Who says that? And keep coming back. Another one of those corny things, but they really wanted to see me the next Thursday.
Right.
And I can go back, next Thursday, and it'll be the same guys laughing, sitting in the corner, and I'll get a hug from them. And I haven't seen them in a year before the pandemic. So
right. So how did you see your relationships in your life change?
Um, I I I realized that I was separated, but also married to an alcoholic, and so I understood, and I hadn't before, really where the dysfunction was. That although she had wanted to separate, I realized I shared the responsibility for that because we were both insane. So I don't want to take her inventory, as we say, but so it helped me understand, and it helped me. Oh, when you're suddenly happy and free, it changes every relationship. So I had people say, "Are you working out? You look so much better." And nobody knew. I mean, nobody knew. My grown daughters didn't know I was an alcoholic, so I was good. I guess I covered that well, but it changes everything.
Right.
It changes everything.
And how, now that you have been sober for coming up on 6 years, how do you manage being a person working in the field and having your own recovery? How do you balance that?
Um, I I run an agency with a vibrant recovery program. I got to hire two peer supporters, and I think it's one of the best in the state. And I'm not anonymous anymore, really, really to anybody. I don't bring it up to people that I work with, but pretty much everybody knows now, because I'm such an advocate and a champion of recovery, etc. So, yeah, it's part of me, and it's if I'm a cancer survivor too. I'll talk about that with you,
Yeah.
and the radiation treatments and what a pain in the butt that was. And I had that realization one day. It's just a different disease,
Right.
and I found out early on it helped to talk to other people with prostate cancer because it's scary. Same thing with recovery. We are what helps us stay better.
Yeah. So the being able to do service work that is separate from, you get paid for your job and to go to work and whatnot, and yes, it's a helping profession, which is, just a extra benefit of being able to go to work and know that you're making a difference. How do you really keep that service as part of your daily life and whatnot for your recovery?
Yeah. Before we lost my kid's mother, I sponsored. I really haven't sponsored for a year because I can't commit myself to another person's recovery because I have two little kids. I'm on the board of Hopetown, where we're sitting today, and so I can use those skills and that experience to make this successful and help a whole bunch of guys indirectly, and women, hopefully in a few months. So, and hanging around with the staff and the people here. So that's how I can give back, since I can't sponsor right now.
Right. So, and there are many different opportunities for
Yeah.
service and whatnot, and finding what your niche is, and then that changes over the years.
It does.
So I know that you just mentioned that your wife had passed away, and I'm so sorry to hear that, and have two young children. How did you get through that?
So and I always have somebody to talk about it, even when I don't want to talk about it. I know I got to call my sponsor if something's bothering me, even if I don't feel like it, because I was born in the 50s. I'm a dude who doesn't talk about their feelings, right? So having to do that, to realize that I have to manage my disease, is also what contributes to my ability to have joy again. And I continue to work the steps, and those 10, 11, 12 are really important every day.
Right. So one of the kind of cliches that they say in recovery is, the best part about recovery is you get your feelings back. The worst part about recovery is you get your feelings back. Can you talk about how, what's your favorite feeling, and what feelings do you really appreciate today that you maybe weren't able to in your active use?
Yeah. So so I raised two daughters in active use, and again, I was a evening on the couch drinker. I was never a bar guy or anything. And the hard part is, what did I miss? Going to those, softball games with a beer under my belt or more. I wasn't very honest. And now I have a 10 and 11-year-old, and I can pay attention and find joy in the little things. And I don't think I would have. I couldn't pay attention like I can now. So that's everything is better.
Right.
Talking to you is better,
Right.
Because I can be right here, right now.
Can you share, for somebody who's out there that's really struggling, that feels like there's no hope, are there some words of wisdoms that really spoke true to you in those, tough times, in early recovery that you could share?
I think it was just surrender. That I keep going back to that, and I have a buddy who keeps going back out, and I just say, keep coming back. At some point, you'll be able to surrender, and so that's always been my mantra for myself, and for those people that I love that struggle with addiction, and when you're ready, it's really simple. Just throw up your hands.
Right. Yes. And that's something that not only do you do that the first time that you do that, it feels amazing, but that's something that we get to do every single
Every day.
And it
Every
really
day
is
when
so
I wake
helpful.
up.
Yeah. Is there anything that we missed that you would like to share with our audience that, you think could be helpful?
I saw an Amish woman do a lead.
Wow.
And she was wild. So I loved her, and she said, and as far as my understanding of a power greater than myself, I don't understand. She said, but something's there, and I can connect with it. And why do I have to put a name on it? And I see so many people, and I used to call myself a recovering Catholic because there was a lot about that Catholicism that I didn't think was very spiritual. But you don't have to put a name on it. And there's a big, huge power that is greater than us. And I hear so many people saying it inspires me that I just believed that there was something. And eventually you connect to it. And that's what inspired me and continues to when I hear folks talk about it.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really helpful too. So, well, we really appreciate you coming out today.
My pleasure.
Your story is definitely going to help somebody out there who's struggling, who thinks there's no hope. You are proof that there is a way out of addiction and really into the freedom and joy of recovery. I mean, that's something that you just kind of exude, is that acceptance and just kind of peace all around you. So, and it's genuine. Like that's the neat part about recovery, is it's real.
I've heard people say, I'm glad I'm an alcoholic, and I thought that was so crazy when I first heard it, but I don't think I'd be where I am today without the program.
Yeah,
so,
me neither.
Yeah, so I get it.
Well, thank you again so much.
All right.